Hi guys. So I was just out earlier and I got thinking that I might make a new video, like a more in-depth one. It's been a while since I made one of my long ones. And yeah, just kind of like I said in an earlier video I made, the honeymoon period I think is over for when you give up alcohol, and that honeymoon period of when you start to feel a lot better, it kind of goes, and then you kind of have to balance everything out after that. Um, Was anyone watching the Ireland game? My Jesus. Oh, 5-0 to England. It's oh, such a good first half, but fell apart in the second half. Definitely should have had a penalty though in the first half. I'm just saying. So, this video was going to be about masculinity, in particular, like my own struggle with it, the concept of it, and just say masculinity. And look who's here, Elton John. No more masculine man than Elton. Got this t-shirt in Tesco actually, before I went on a holiday. Great stuff in there actually. Just saying. Not sponsored by them or anything. Not yet, I hope. Hope so in the future. But yeah, I guess it's different to everybody, isn't it? Like masculinity is just a very big buzzword. I think even more so like a buzzword to be toxic masculinity, masculinity. But it's kind of like, what is it? What's it actually mean? Um, like, what's the first thing that comes into your head when you hear the word masculinity? I think, weirdly enough, now violence. It's the first one that comes into my head, and I think that's kind of there's a reason for that. I don't even have to really think about it. Like, if I was to say anything else, I have to think about it first. But if I'm just going, what comes into your head? First one, masculinity, go, violence. That's it. It comes straight into my head. Um, and why is that? Like, that's a weird one. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. And I think it's definitely how we've been conditioned over the years now to kind of think that it's bad and you shouldn't show any masculinity. And we're also getting really bad role models, I think, to look up to. Like, I'm not the picture of what it means to be a masculine man or your ultimate macho man. Um, but it's different to everybody. So yeah, I know I forgot to mention. Yeah, you probably notice a lot less hair on me. It's a different look. It's just a lot easier to maintain. Um, Something I prefer. I decided to shave my head for the masculinity video. um, no, I can promise that wasn't the reason. Hair was just annoying me. Um, but it's an interesting topic, isn't it? Like, who do you think of as well, like as a masculine man? Like, fighters probably come into your head first, don't they? The likes of Conor McGregor and Francis Ngannou, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, um, whoever, like you name it. You know, all the main fighters out there. Um, Good reason for that, isn't there? Like there's something very masculine about being able to defend yourself, being able to defend your family, being able to use actions rather than words. Although I do think now, to be fair, as a society we have kind of gone more so the way of words are being used a lot more, and people acting macho when they're not really, and trying to use the fact that they've got people that they'll get after you. You know, like I've got friends in high places, basically. People getting a bit brave because times have changed, and rather than having an actual fight, people will be afraid to do that. So they'll mouth off to somebody twice their size, acting like the big man. The big guy's just minding his business, but then this little fella who's trying to get the big lad attacked will just keep mouthing off at him until he snaps, and then the little fella has justification because he might be quicker with his words, and the big fella isn't necessarily, but he can obviously kick the shit out of the smaller lad, and the smaller lad's not going to physically attack the big lad, because if he does that, he knows the big lad has a justification for attacking him. You know, and people are very clever. You know, the little lad who'll get the big lad battered. I also think, like, in a lot of cases, especially like nightclubs, bars, and whatever, you'll see a lot of women using their feminine charm to get young fellas to fight over them. You hear this often, like, and it's one thing that really pisses me off. You know, like, if you've got a girlfriend and she's going up to the bar flirting with lads and making you insecure, and you're just kind of thinking to yourself, I feel very uncomfortable here. Like, why are you chatting in such a flirtatious manner to this fella? And she'll go, "Oh, I'm just having a laugh. Relax, you." But then, you know, like, playing lads off against each other, and then the two lads are fueled with testosterone, fighting over a woman, and she's loving this, you know, because, you know, lads are willing to go to war over me, basically. I don't like that shit, you know, I really don't, and it puts me in a really anxious place. And that's it. Like, we've all got our own unique circumstances with what we consider masculine and what we consider a man's man, that sort of thing. And I think a lot of people lie to give themselves more status. They want to be the hard man, they want to be the big fella. Um, so if they're a little bit more mouthy, they'll try and put you down to make themselves look bigger, make themselves look better. Especially if you're not very confident and you're shy, but you're big and strong, they'll try and basically knock you off your high horse and go, "Look at this fella, he's not so tough." Obviously, you know that you're not going to end up fighting them, you're going to end up fighting 6 or 7 of their mates, and if you don't have anyone in your corner, like I didn't, it's hard. And I guess that's what really bothers me. It's just kind of being dumped off, going, "Oh, you're big enough, you can look after yourself." But I didn't learn anything. I really feel that now as I'm older is I've had to learn everything by myself, and being socially awkward, being extremely anxious, it's very uncomfortable. People telling you shouldn't be nervous or anxious doesn't take it away. So, like, what have you got to be anxious about? You're too young to be anxious, you're too big to be worried or anxious. Like, "Oh, cheers, thanks, yeah, now it's gone." It's a load of shite, it really is. And, like, I guess watching that game tonight, actually, it's the England Ireland game. I get a real sense in Ireland of a lack of Irish pride among Irish men. Or if they do show any Irish pride, they're bad. Anybody else feel that? Like, any Irish people watching these videos feel that? Because I'm not saying everybody has no Irish pride, but I'm saying anyone who does show any is just told, "Shut up, stop being racist," or I get a real sense of lack of national pride. And that contributes to it, you know, like, you need to have a sense of self, you need to have a set of values, you need to have a culture you're proud of, um, boundaries, what you will and won't stand for. Whole heap of things go into actually making up a strong character. And you base a lot of what you learn off the men in your life, off how you're going to be a man. That's just how it is. That's why when you see a lot of fatherless homes, which I have seen, you know, unfortunate enough to be in one myself, but there's a lot of lads who I can relate to, and it seems to be a trend, not just in Ireland but in the world. But I think there's a real thing with Irish dads that they don't want to be touchy feely, they don't want to get to know you in your young years, you know. Even talking to the lad I coach with, Fuzzy, and he's Simone, and their values are a lot more different to our values. The man plays a huge role in the kid's life, and you need that. And we're talking huge, big men, like the most terrifying men you come up against on the rugby pitch. But they do look after their kids for the most part. There's a lot more of a I'm your father, so I'm going to show you from a young age. I'll be, loving and gentle. And then as you get older, I'll have given you the best tools to succeed in life and be tough. Um, which is so important, like it really is. And I love the way he is with his son. My head coach's son, and he's a lovely young fella, really nice, and you can tell that he's been raised by a dad who loves him and takes care of him. He obviously doesn't want to be biased. He's afraid of looking biased, but his lad is a good player as well. So it's kind of like um, you're allowed to tell him he's good too, which he does, But he also wants to just not let his head get too big, which I understand as well. Um, it's just when I compare that to how I was with my dad, like we love each other and we get on, we do. Like I was talking about it before, but we've patched a lot of things up and we get on well now. Like we see each other not that often, but we do meet up and we chat and we've a much better relationship now. We always did, hang out or whatever, but it wasn't really in a very serious way. Like I'd drink with him and never really talked to him about anything serious though, if I'm being honest. Just felt like I couldn't. And growing up, I was quite an emotional kid, and that didn't go down well with him. It didn't go down well with a lot of people. But like I remember before going to Gaelic football training, and at this stage, like my autism was really bad. Like I was having sensory issues all the time, and I remember a lad was marking me, and he started hitting me and elbowing me. So I got angry with him, and I punched him, and then we got into a fight, and I was on top of him hitting him, and everybody knew him. They didn't know me. I was the new guy, so I got dragged off and given out to him, and he was just like walking off. I was crying. I was really upset, really angry, and I was like tears were coming down, and he was laughing at me, and I was there going, "I'll fucking kill you!" Like I was really annoyed, um, and I wanted to leave, and my dad just kind of left me at the car and went back and was helping them coach. Didn't comfort me or anything really, and that was quite common. Like every kid has their different needs, and I felt like mine definitely weren't met in a lot of ways. Felt like I wasn't really taught an awful lot, if I'm being perfectly honest, which is quite uncomfortable as you get older. And I'm not saying I was the easiest person to reach, like I was difficult to reach in a lot of ways. Um, but a lot of people would just laugh at me and call me weird or take the piss out of me because I did look quite awkward doing things or got quite anxious. Um, yeah, it wasn't easy. And you try and just block it out and keep yourself busy, which I have tried doing. But I always end up in the situation where I'm burnt out and can't really do much for the day. Um, try and have Sundays like a day of rest normally. Have lie in or whatever, But it's something that we don't really talk about in a positive light nowadays as masculinity, and I'm wondering why that is. I kind of think it's because it's seen as the patriarchy or the misogynistic man. Um, yeah, and like I think things have changed an awful lot. Like I think a lot more men are empathetic now of women's rights and certainly think that they have been mistreated and we need to do a lot better, which I do think is true for sure. But that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to be a man. You have a penis, so you're wrong. I don't think that's right either. I think um, what we really have to start doing is encouraging lads to be men, to have respect for themselves before anyone else, to stand up for themselves. I've seen a lot of young fellas, including myself, like get treated like shit in the workplace, and we're just expected to grow up here and get on with it. And thankfully, a lot of men nowadays are not accepting that, and they're being called soft as a result. As if you're supposed to just take shit from people. Why should you? And I think we're all guilty of it. Like, I've definitely taken shit in the workplace because I thought, and my dad always said it to me, you just gotta grow a thicker skin and get on with it. Don't let it get to you. Which he would have done. Like, I mean, back when he was doing his trade, like his apprenticeship, I mean, there would have been an awful lot of abuse for young fellas, even more so than what I got. Like, you're just not allowed to do it as much now, but back then, Jesus, he said he was almost threatened with physical violence. So you can imagine. And it's just not very fair, to call young people out like the way people are. Like, I was watching this video on Dr. Phil, and I was thinking of maybe in the future, like, just making a video kind of showing you all the clips from what I think of them, but it was ridiculous. Like, they had a young fella on an American lad, and he'd done 3 years in an apprenticeship, and he said he hated it. Right? He said he looked at guys who were miserable, who were crippled, and they've been doing it for about 10 to 15 years, some of them, and he said, I don't want to end up like that. And a lot of them would tell him, if you can get out of this work, do. And I don't see a problem with that. And I can relate to that 100% because the amount of people that I met in the jobs who were like that. And I thought, oh, construction work is great, Jay. You'll make a man out of yourself, it's brilliant. But I got an offer for college and they all literally said, go for it. Don't waste your life doing this. Now, I mean, each to their own, do whatever makes you happy. I'm not judging you, and we need people to do construction work for sure, but I think a lot of people get into it because they don't have any other option. Or they feel shamed into doing it. Maybe you love it, maybe like you do, and maybe you work with family members and your family member is really good at it and has taught you well, and you work for their company and you work with people you like, and then in that case, go for it. I'm not judging either way, but I certainly don't think that this episode of Dr. Phil was very fair on the young fella. Like, 3 years and he didn't like it. I think that's more than enough time. If you know your own mind, then you probably know instantly, don't you? But he gave it a try, he didn't like it, and he left, and he made more money doing a less strenuous job. And they were hammering into him. And in particular, like, the guys that were doing it were, I don't think, in a position to do it. Like, Dr. Phil, he's never done anything like that, really. Like, someone mentioned a comment, and I thought it was really good. Quite hypocritical from a guy in a $2,000 suit who flies around in a private jet. It is quite hypocritical, isn't it? And then a guy who owned his own construction company, who went to college and got a business degree. You're kind of there thinking to yourself, obviously you want people to do it because you need them for your business to succeed, so you're going to do whatever you can to get them into it. But you're not out doing that. You own the company. So, what, I should go out and bust my back for you to make shitty wage in an apprenticeship in a job I don't even like? Okay, fuck that. And they were just shaming this fella, and I thought to myself, this is the problem right here. Because then you're told you need to be sensitive and soft, and you've got to be understanding of women's rights and all this stuff. But look at some of the lads who women end up with, and you think to yourself, he treats you like shit. and you keep coming back to him. I've been nothing but good, and what's it get me? It's quite, it's double standards, isn't it? Like, it's not good, and they're not sticking to their guns, a lot of them. Like, Conor McGregor, for instance, has so many women who would love to marry him. They'd marry him in the drop of a hat if they could. You see people like Ted Bundy getting love letters in prison, and he's not the first serial killer to get messages in prison either, but they obviously like the kind of, Jesus, bad boy. But I wouldn't say bad boy, I'd say dangerous killer, which is what he is. And then Conor McGregor, like, well, we all know what's going on with him at the minute, don't we? But if you know that about him, why on earth would you throw yourself at him? And you're saying that you hate nice guys. Well, wouldn't you rather a guy that was nice to you than a guy who, beats you and takes advantage of you, who treats you like shit? I don't know. Guess that's what I've been doing wrong. I haven't treated you like shit. It just baffles me. You see these absolute scumbags, and they never have a shortage of women. There's always women throwing themselves at them. There's an interesting quote from Jordan Peterson, and it took me a while to kind of understand it. I kind of knew what he was saying, but I worked it out to try and rephrase it almost. Women don't want nice men; they want dangerous men who can be tamed. Right, so, and remember, you need to be a monster, bloody hell. His voice just makes me laugh. But there's a good point in there, I think he's right. Don't know if he's a monster, but does Jordan Peterson strike you as a monster? Doesn't really strike me as one, but I'm not judging. I think he's got a lot of good insight, but also sometimes can talk a bit of shite. But we all can, to be fair. What I think is, he's right. Like, a lot of women will want a fella who isn't going out kicking the shit out of someone, but can if he needs to. And that, in fairness, makes sense. You don't want someone who, if you get into physical bother, is just going to be a little punching bag or thrown around like a rag doll. Not saying you have to go around kicking the shit out of everybody you meet to prove you're a monster, but having the capability definitely is more appealing. I do get that for sure. I understand that, but that's not what a lot of these women are ending up with. They're ending up with guys who treat them like unadulterated shit. They might buy them a lot of nice things, to keep them sweet. It's a very superficial relationship, and I think that's obviously down to social media and what we watch on the TV. But have you no respect for yourself? You're going to allow, as a woman, like, why would you allow some prick to treat you this way? I can't get my head around it at all. And I'm not going to change treating people well, because of that. I guess I'd rather be single if that were the case, because I don't have it in me to be like that, to be a nasty prick. And I have stood up for people before that weren't my girlfriend, that had boyfriends. I wasn't just doing it to get with them, you know what I mean? And put myself in situations where he wasn't the monster, and very likely would have gotten my head kicked in had I not dealt with it very well. Like when I said to a fella who was obviously horny and thought he was onto something, no mate, look, she's not into you, and like put my hand up and just kind of gone, look, back off, basically. Me and one other lad, 3 girls, and then there's this fella with like 7 big fellas, like male friends of his. Like, I thought, we're okay, if a fight does break out, we're not winning this. And my mate even said I wasn't getting involved in that, I could see it kicking off. I was like, fuck that, I'm not getting involved. But all the girls that were with us were kind of more into him than me, and I kind of thought, what? I've literally just put myself in the fucking firing line for you, and have done on multiple occasions, and I do it again, like, but I feel like that definitely gets used and abused, if I'm being perfectly honest. And even on nights out where I'll be looking after people's stuff, like minding their bags and their jackets, and I saw a lad going over, and was like, "Here, mate, fuck off." Nobody else was doing that. And then I got pissed off, felt like I was getting taken advantage of, and I just went, "Look, I'm not fucking minding your stuff all night." I probably said it more polite than that, because I have a tough time standing up for myself sometimes, Um, guess when you're told you're wrong all the fucking time, you kind of do, don't you? Like, I do try and be polite in most instances, but when you are, and then someone just rubs you up the wrong way, like they're just a dickhead to you, they're ignorant, and you're like, oh, this lad's getting on my nerves. But you're kind of thinking, he's real passive aggressive, so if I say anything, I look insane. And then there's other situations where someone's just being an arsehole, but you're with company and you don't want to upset them, I guess. And there's been a lot of situations where I've been absolutely shit myself, and still I've done the right thing, or I've stood up for somebody else. So that's courageous. Is that not masculine? I've tried to learn new things, even though nobody's taught me or had the patience to teach me, because I don't learn like everybody else. It's a very tricky thing. It's very hard, like, because I do struggle with it. It gets me down an awful lot, because I doubt myself all the time. All the fucking time. When you are autistic and you're more clumsy, or you need people to be more clear and concise with their instructions, and to show you more than one time, maybe. I might need things explained a bit more. I might not pick up on the humour as quick as everybody else, but I fucking try, you know? It gets me down, like, just to kind of not feel appreciated, even though I am trying so hard. And I get that I came across as maybe closed off, or maybe a bit rude, but I don't think so. I think I try my damnedest to be polite, and I'm definitely more outgoing now than I was at the start of college. Came out of my shell an awful lot, which I'm really glad I have. But that's been through all my own work. Like, my mum has encouraged me to do a lot of things, which is good, and I credit her with that 100%. My dad's given me like a work ethic, which is good and bad. It's like, don't just quit something straight away. Try and tough it out. But see, that can be good and bad, because you do tough it out, and then you seriously get miserable. You put on weight, which I did. You get stressed. You start getting aches and pains. Guess like that type of masculinity that my dad taught me about was look out for number one. Nobody's going to sort your shit out for you. You have to do it yourself. Look out for number one. And like, in a lot of situations, if I looked out for myself, I've always managed to do well for myself. The stuff I feel guilty about isn't what I've done or failed to do for me, because I've always toughed it out for me. It's for other people. I feel like I let others down. In the workplace, I guess you have to try and be polite, don't you? So that's fair enough. You can't be screaming and roaring at people you work with, because you get fired, and that triggers my shame about not being able to hold down a job, which is not good either. So it's basically hitting you from every fucking end, isn't it? But yeah, especially if you're working. I think if you're working with fellas, you can be a bit more blunt and a bit more confrontational if they're really getting on your tits. You can say something like that. I found when I'm working with women, you have to be more. You can't raise your voice. That's something I've noticed. If you raise your voice, a lot of them will feel threatened and complain about you, but they're allowed to do it to you. So double standards or what? I just don't like that at all. I think that's bullshit. And I've seen other nice young fellas get used and abused in jobs, you know, because once they raise their voice, they're being aggressive, they're being intimidating. It's like, are we not allowed to be angry too? You're fucking getting angry with us. And I'm not saying you should go around raising your voice to everyone and fighting with everyone. No, in fact, the opposite. I'm not saying no, you should take dogs abuse off people. That's not fair either, and that will fuck your mental health up. And I've had situations where I get very frustrated. Like, what the fuck do you want me to do then? And then complaints made that I have an attitude problem. And when I was depressed, like, yeah, I was late quite a bit. Um, was a bit more of a huff because I was just like, fuck, it's like dragging myself around all the time. Um, but I fucking made an effort, you know. Um, yeah, like, and going back to the country I'm in, Ireland, I'd like to see more Irish pride, if I'm being perfectly honest. I feel like it's really lacking. It's a tough time to be a young Irish man, I think. And you can shout on to me and say whatever you want, like, oh, you live in the first world, there's people worse off than you. I know, I don't care. You know, like, that's not going to help anyone. It's not helping them, and not helping me to acknowledge that. I'm saying there is difficulties here that are very real. You know, and the stats for suicide speak for themselves. 25 to 34-year-olds, or young men, like, in general, like 16 to 25-year-olds, and then 25 to 34, it's all bad. The stats are all bad for them, you know? And we have to ask ourselves why that is. Clearly, we're doing something wrong. Loads of people want to leave, they can't wait to leave. I don't blame them. And you can guarantee yourself that they're working. That's why they're going abroad to find work. I was like, it's something I'd like to do ideally. Not saying that I'll stay abroad forever, but not seeing an awful lot of reasons to stay, you know, which is really sad because you want to have pride in the country where your parents or your grandparents grew up in, but that's up to the adults to keep that going. You know, to keep that pride going, and I feel like we fight with each other way too often rather than working together. You know, like, I'm from a different parish to you, or I just feel like we can't agree and get along. There's an awful lot of tension between groups in Ireland that just should be working together and they're not. Um, which is sad, really. I feel like the people have been let down big time. You know, we pay a lot for stuff in this country, and we don't get bang for our buck at all. Not at all. It's not fair. I think as a whole we're a good group of people. Irish people are good people in general. We're very friendly. Um, but more so than that, like, even if you don't think we're friendly, we do look after our neighbours. And we say a lot of throwaway stuff like, oh, I'll see you next week, and then we never do. But I think we do look out for people. If we see them struggling, we'll try and help. I think we've proven time and time again that we're generous. But yeah, like, something to get behind. Like, you look at the rugby team, obviously getting knocked out in that quarter final, very disappointing for us. But yeah, it does get you a bit down, and then the football today really gets you down. Kind of just wonder if we get more of a pride and a desire, you know, to represent your country and do well. Um, would that change? I don't know. Let's see. But it all starts from having pride in your culture. If you don't have that, then what do you have to begin with? And then if you don't have that in yourself and who you are, if you don't know your own values, if you don't know who you really are, very easy to get taken advantage of, which I've found. And then get frustrated, get angry. Um, it's just something to consider, you know. I'm seeing a lot of young fellas who are lacking in confidence, and I'm sure women too. Like, I don't think the current situation is benefiting anyone. But I'm kind of wondering, like, what more can young fellas do if they are mannerly and polite? But you don't want that. You want some guy who's aggressive and gets his own way all the time. And I don't know. It's a very difficult one. It's one that I'm struggling with because I've done a lot of work on myself, and I understand completely that if you can't talk to people and you're quite asocial, then it's very hard to get to know anyone. I understand that, which is why I've worked on myself to get better. But I have a lot of struggles that I feel make me less of a man. I'm going to get an assessment soon. I have to wait for to hear back from the doctors, but an assessment for IBS. Because like just exercising, getting really bad bloating, intense like stomach pain, and difficulty breathing. It's very hard for me to breathe sometimes, and you're encouraged to eat fibre and carbs. That bloats me so much, and um, makes it very hard for me to run and do any sort of cardio. You're told to eat all that stuff, but maybe I can't. Maybe it's not for me. Used to get sick an awful lot in games, and just get bad acid reflux, and your throat's just swollen up. And it's happened a lot more recently, and that's why I've taken a break from playing rugby. And I was playing rugby for my own masculinity. There's another thing. Like, let's look at that right off the bat. Like, I've talked about rugby, and I do love it. But I wasn't playing it for the right reasons. If I came off the pitch with a bloody nose, a black eye, people were going, oh, what a tank you are, and all this stuff, I thought, oh yeah, I am a beast. But I was struggling to make it out every week. I was just doing it for my own confidence boost, because I thought people are going to praise me if I do this. But it wasn't sustainable. And when my mum got sick, God bless her, she's doing better now, thank God, touch wood. But I took it out of me and my brother. We were all so tense, just hanging on, barely. And like, we tried exercising, and we did for a while, but I'd gained so much weight, he'd gained so much weight, we were all in such a bad way. Yeah, I never really dealt with it. I'm dealing with a lot of stuff now, which is, thankfully I'm getting over that. Like, I'm moving past it, but it's not easy. It really isn't. Now having physical ailments as well as mental ailments, like being autistic, you do need more help in certain aspects, which automatically makes you vulnerable. The less self-sufficient you are, the more vulnerable you are. Just straight out, because people can take advantage of you. And I struggle with that. I struggle with paranoia that people will take advantage of me. And I close myself off from decent people because I'm afraid that they'll use and abuse me. I don't trust an awful lot of people, straight off the bat, which I guess is a good thing. But I try and be polite to everyone. I try and be nice to everyone. And I get really pissed off if they're not nice back. Yeah, I guess when I put so much effort into getting physically fit and physically strong, only for me to burn myself out, to be used and abused, and to have a breakdown, it's very hard. And what you think would have happened or could have happened versus what ended up happening. You start drinking an awful lot because it helps you relax and be more sociable, but it's destroying your mental health. So you try and give that up, but it's not a magic. It's not a magic pill. It's not going to cure you. You have to put things in place, which I'm trying to do now. But I get a lot of difficulties. It's very hard, like a lot of days, to just live, even. You feel kind of helpless. You feel like, what do I do now? Like, just feel like you've got nothing to offer. And like, I do hope eventually I can move out and live my own life, but then come back, because I love it down here. It's great. It's amazing. But that's another thing. I guess when you move down here at first, there's another honeymoon period, because it's beautiful down in the southeast. In Wexford, I love it. But you realise just how much it's your own head that's fucked up, because I literally would, like, when my mum asked me if you won the lotto and could pick anywhere to live in Ireland, where would it be? I was like, right here. I wouldn't change that. So it's like, maybe the problem is me, and I have worked on myself, as I say. So it's like, am I just permanently fucked? That's how it feels sometimes, if I'm being completely honest. It just feels like this ain't working right, and I'll have periods where I'm very busy and doing an awful lot, and I feel good about myself. I sleep when I get home because I'm after doing a lot of work, doing a lot of stuff. But what happens then, and it always happens, is that I burn myself out and I can't do anything for a week, maybe 2 weeks. My progress is halted. That's why I made those gym videos, because looking back at them, it really made me just feel like I worked so fucking hard. Um, but something was inevitably going to happen. Do you know what I mean? Automatically, I think when you're prone to being depressed as well, you do definitely open yourself up to feeling more soft and vulnerable. Every little small thing like that's wrong with the world bothers you more. You let it get you down, which is how I know I'm depressed when it happens, because I know this hasn't got me down before. I've been driven, and and someone just says something to you that bothers you. You couldn't be arsed arguing back with them. It's like, all right, yeah. And then you can be really argumentative sometimes. Sometimes you just don't want to go outside the door. You can't cope with life. So, like, to kind of analyse it, what does masculinity mean for me if I was to look more in depth at it? I would say being a man of your word, showing up when you say you will, not letting people down, being able to give to other people, to help others out when you can, when you're in a position to help people less fortunate than yourself, you do it. Standing up for what you believe in definitely would be something. Um, and how many of us are guilty of not doing that? If we're being honest. But then you've got to know what you believe in as well, don't you? If that's always changing, then how do we know what we believe in? If we have a set of rules that we stick to, so you don't say this, don't do that, I'm not standing for that. Well then, you can stick to that, and that's what gets established in your youth. You have beliefs, you have people you look up to. You think, I want to be like that guy when I get older. It's got to be a man, really, doesn't it? Like when you are a man, it's very rare that a man wants to be like a woman when he's older. Sometimes it happens, yeah, I'm sure it does. Um, but a woman will want to be like a woman that they admire when they grow older, won't they? Because they're the same gender. So makes sense to me. In fairness, I don't see a problem either way. Um, well, I guess a lot of young men feel let down, don't they? I certainly feel like I've tried a lot of things, and it's given me a lot of good experience that I can talk about now. Even doing my wellness group for the Wexford local development, I really feel like that has helped. I've got another 2 weeks of that. Thank God. I am finding that's good. And I have things that I look forward to every week, which are great, you know. I guess that could be my recent diagnosis of emotionally unstable personality disorder, but man, the feelings of worthlessness are very real. It's like every good thing you do can just be undone like that, you know, which isn't very nice. All the good stuff you've done just gets swept under the carpet, and you're just left dealing with all the bad. You can probably hear it, like, and it's very tiring, like it is. like like I said, I had a job interview on Friday. The guy was really nice, really decent fella, and I wish I could get myself more psyched up for things. That's something that pisses me off about myself. Really annoys me is that I'm very apathetic about things. If I could change anything about myself, I wish I had more of a sense of self and identity. But as I say, that's part of EUPD. Um, and changing who you are, like I have, not being accepted for being autistic, being different, and just burning myself out time and time again. I wonder how many people would have persisted with something if they had the level of anxiety that I had, because it was crippling. My back was killing me, my shoulders were slouched as I talked about before. I felt like I was going to get sick, felt like I was going to have a heart attack. Um, and then you're beating yourself up, going, will you just get it together? Like, will you fucking just get it together and stop being such a pussy? That's the inner dialogue right there. That's what goes on inside this yoke. It's a lot of negative stuff to try and get myself to get out of myself. So that's not accepting yourself in a nutshell. And I don't think you can be a very masculine man if you can't accept yourself and if you don't know yourself. It'd be something that I would talk about. You know yourself, know what you stand for and what you don't. You're allowed to not do things that make you uncomfortable. And I think you should do stuff that makes you uncomfortable to see, like to build character, because that's definitely made me able to make these videos. I would have shut away from the world and just not talked to anyone had I not had life experience and failed at stuff, but had the bollocks to go, I'll try that and see. Now, there's a lot of stuff that I can look at objectively and go, yeah, looking at that, that's a ballsy thing to do. For sure. Like when I actually list it out, which helps me not beat myself up so much. But if I quit something, I'm like, oh my god, you're such a fucking waste of space, you're such a loser, you're such a. I think very little of myself, so I have to back it up with facts to go, well, hold on, you don't like this, it makes you uncomfortable, and yet you still did it. Fair fucks to you for doing it. You're not such a bad person after all. But you see how I have to. It's an afterthought, it's not an immediate thought. Which means in the moment, all these things are firing at you, just going, you're bad, you're gonna fail, you're fucking shit, you're useless, you're going to fail, it's only a matter of time, this guy's better than you, he's better than you, blah, 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 yada, yada. There's a little insight right there. It's just something I wanted to make because, look, my family have said to me they don't know whether these are helping. They are helping me. I get this stuff out in videos and then I'm not agitated, or worried towards them. So I feel bad when I get agitated and annoyed at people that I love and care about. These videos do help me just get it out there and then hopefully start a dialogue with someone about it. Like life is hard for women as well. Don't get me wrong, but that's what I'm saying. I think to myself, I do not want to be with a woman who is terrified of me ever. I don't want to stop her doing things. I want her to feel comfortable with me. I want to be kind to her and treat her well. I want to give her all the best things in the world if I care about her. Treat her like a princess, basically. That's what I'm like. That's how I see it. A lot of stuff that men talk about appalls me. And I've started saying that more openly now. Rather than just being fake and making jokes about women, misogynistic jokes. I'm kind of call it out now and say that that's not what I'm about. But I am guilty of doing it too in the past, like I said. Well, I'm getting better, thankfully. But I want to treat people right, and I don't want to be constantly worried that you're going to cheat on me or whatever. Yeah, that's just me. And I'm hoping that you treat me right as well, and that I'm not always being measured up to or compared to somebody else. Because there's another thing right there, if you're always being compared to somebody, like neurotypical men are different to me. There's stuff they can do that I can't do. They can be more confident than me, maybe. Or maybe not. Maybe I can be more confident than them or come across that way. But to mock me into things that I can't do because of my neurodivergence is just wrong. To do that to anyone, like, it's just wrong. Like, you should not be comparing someone. Do you like them? Do they make you feel good? Well, who the fuck cares that they can't do certain things? Now, I wouldn't want to stay with a man who didn't stand up for me and look after me as a woman. I agree with you 100%, ladies. I do. I get that you want to be looked after. 100%. That's something I value. Like, that's definitely something I value. And I have done it. And like I say, I haven't just done it for someone who I was hoping to sleep with. I've done it because it was the right thing to do. I think I'm quite chivalrous in that regard, and that's one of my good qualities. One of the things I wish I could change is how I would talk to my brother, and I was only saying this in the Wexford local development. Because yeah, you can treat women nice and look after them, and my own brother though, I used all these tactics, like just man up and don't be a bitch, do this, do that, be tough. And it really made me think, fuck, I've done exactly what I said I hate, but I was conditioned to do it. And I regret doing it. I don't think it's right. I don't think it ever encouraged him. But when you're in it, and you're doing all these masculine things to try and make yourself macho, and you do, it's survival. As weird as that sounds. You're doing it because you care. You don't want him to get taken advantage of. You want him to grow a thicker skin, like my dad said to me. And I think there is some value in that for sure. But I wish I'd been more gentle and softer with him. Felt like I was way too hard on him. Kind of leaving him off. Well, no, I didn't leave him off, but actually that's another thing, getting involved in his private matters when he actually gave out to me and said he didn't want me to. I didn't understand that because I thought I've got to look after him and could slag him off, but I've got to be there for him. But he didn't want me to be. He told me to piss off and to not get involved, which is his wishes. It's not up to me. I got really annoyed. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm supposed to look after you, you ungrateful prick. See that? Being like such a terrible older brother when I was younger, I wanted to be that when I got older, but I was in such a rush to make up for it. Like with being angry all the time and having meltdowns and fighting with other kids and getting into trouble all the time meant that he didn't get the attention he needed, or I didn't look after him like I should have done. Then as I got older and softer and more empathetic, I was always empathetic like I was, but definitely reflected a lot more, on what I could be improving on. I wanted to look out for him. So looking out, giving him money, but then saying, oh, you ungrateful prick, you don't appreciate that. Calling him a scrounger and stuff. Yeah, wasn't right, was it? I did feel like he was being ungrateful at times, but I could have handled that a lot better, truth be told. Look out for the people you love, take care of them, and try and be a good example to them. That would be a masculine thing to do. Stand up for those who you love and care about. But be gentle as well, like be encouraging. Be nice, be pleasant. Don't take shit from people though. Don't. Stand up for yourself. Just because we're saying be kind and be nice, yeah. But look after yourself too. Don't be taken advantage of. And there is no right or wrong way, we go, oh, you could have handled that a lot better. But if you're feeling pissed off in the moment, sometimes you just act without thinking. Maybe don't let it get to that stage. Sometimes I've taken a moment to take a deep breath and go, I don't appreciate this, or, well, that's not my fault, which was the right way to deal with it. And I thought, oh, I should have gotten angry and shouted. It wouldn't have got me anywhere. It wouldn't. It would have just got me fired. And as I say, then the shame of getting fired would have kicked in. Like I've done stuff like I said before, working in a cafe and having to ask people to leave. You know, putting yourself in a confrontational situation, but you're also not allowed to actually do anything. If you physically touch anyone, you're in trouble. But I stuck to my guns, and sure, people were mouthing off and saying stuff, but I ignored it, and they left. Goal was achieved. I've done stewarding, you know, like security type work. Free tickets for concerts, so it's not bad. But it can get a bit confrontational, and it's always like, will I deal with this the right way? You know, but I was like, oh, you can't park here, you have to go over there, and you have to turn around, and confrontation can make me a little uncomfortable, you know, for sure. Just because of how much of it happened when I was younger, and how much I got given out to, how much my stress chemicals were released. It was unbelievable. I couldn't breathe, sick, you know, physically ill because of it. So that's not good either. Like flying off the handle and everything isn't very masculine. Looking after other people is being a good dad. Be first and foremost, obviously, because it's not easy raising kids. I appreciate that for sure. And look, guys, to men and women out there, look out for each other. Be nice to each other. Don't take shit. You can be nice, but don't take shit. I'm not here to have a go at anyone, you know. I'm just saying, like, if you've got a great woman, like a really good girlfriend, appreciate her. Don't always be looking for something else. And then, ladies, if you've got a good man, appreciate him as well, you know. It goes both ways, it does. Like, looking back at some videos where I see and how misogynistic people were, I was like, fucking hell. No, stuff had to change. And this is only like looking, don't know if anybody saw the video of Ireland in the 90s, but Jesus, I was like, I was there going, fucking hell, did they really think like that? Something did have to change for sure. Because I don't think all these Andrew Tate views are right. They're not right. You know, they're bullshit. They are. Um, Women are equals in every way, for sure. They're not property. That's bollocks. And there's no way in hell we should think like that. I don't agree with that at all. Um, we're all equal, which means we all have a job to treat everybody equally and be pleasant to each other. And it's not a man's responsibility to do everything for you as women. Um, you know, but at the same time, if you're a good woman and you look after your man and you're caring, appreciate what you've got, men, and don't be cheating around with other people. Um, Appreciate what you have. Don't always be looking for something else. Stop comparing your partner to somebody who you think is better. Is the person you're with nice? Do they make you laugh? Are you comfortable with them? Great. So what if they don't have a fucking six pack, or they don't go out and get into bar fights at the weekend, you know? Don't know, does that attract you women to men? Is that something that attracts you to men? I hope not. Um, but yeah, guys, look, just a bit of a rant. Not in the best headspace, if I'm being honest, so some things might be said that I'm quite passionate about in the moment, but I think it just needs to be said because I'm feeling the brunt of it, and all of you are too. But look after yourselves, right? If anyone thinks anything of it, if you disagree with me, even tell me why. You know, have a debate. Don't have an argument. Just say why. Because you disagree with me doesn't mean I'm gonna hate you. And if I disagree with you, you shouldn't hate me either. Let's have a discussion about it. All right. On that note, guys, see you in the next one.